Before his mysterious death in 2016, Prince was reportedly digging into something big, something that could shake the entire music industry. And now those files he was said to be collecting, they might be leaking again. And the people most afraid of those leaks? Jay-Z and Beyoncé. Yeah, you heard that right. Rumors say Prince's private archive included more than unreleased music. It had evidence, contracts, and maybe even recordings that could expose how power really works behind the scenes, how some of the biggest names built their empires not just on music, but on control. And now, as Diddy's empire collapses in court, whispers are growing that what Prince uncovered might be connected. Before we dive deep, remember, none of this is proven. But if even half of it's true, it would explain why so many powerful people seem suddenly nervous, deleting clips, issuing denials, and trying to bury this story before it explodes. So grab your drink, get comfortable, because this one's wild. Prince's death was officially ruled accidental, but the chaos that followed blurred every line between business and betrayal. Just months before he passed, he'd partnered with Jay-Z's streaming platform, Tidal, giving them exclusive access to some of his work. At the time, everyone thought it was a beautiful alliance between legends. But after he died, that relationship turned ugly fast. Prince's estate accused Jay-Z's company of falsifying paperwork, backdating contracts, and claiming rights to hundreds of songs they were never given permission to use. They said Tidal streamed more than 15 albums of Prince's music without authorization. Jay-Z denied it, saying Prince had personally told him his wishes. But when lawyers checked, the emails and documents didn't match what Jay-Z's team was claiming. It started looking less like a misunderstanding and more like a power grab. And here's where it gets dark. Sources close to Prince said that before his death, he was documenting shady industry dealings, not just about his own rights, but about other artists too. Some insiders claim he had files and notes about executives, contracts, and even the off-record behavior of some of the industry's biggest stars. Among the names reportedly mentioned, Jay-Z and Beyoncé. Now again, we don't know what's real or fake here, but this rumor exploded because the timeline fits almost too perfectly. When Prince died, Jay-Z allegedly offered Prince's sister around $40 million for control of his catalog, which sounds like a lot until you realize that Prince's vault was rumored to contain decades of unreleased songs, videos, letters, and digital archives. $40 million suddenly sounds cheap if there was something more than music inside. Some people close to the estate say that vault had sealed envelopes, unmarked drives, even what looked like private recordings. Not everything in there was meant for commercial release, and when those items were cataloged, some things just disappeared. Files marked as miscellaneous media weren't listed in the final reports. That's what people think might be leaking now. So what could have been in there that had billionaires fighting over it? Well, here's where things start to overlap with the Diddy investigation. Federal prosecutors have been accusing Sean Diddy Combs of running a secret network of coercion and control using parties, private jets, and hidden recordings to manipulate people. They've already seized hundreds of hours of footage from raids in LA and Miami. And now, the crazy part, insiders say Jay-Z and Beyoncé's names have surfaced in those old circles, even if not directly involved. Some people claim Prince knew about this culture years before anyone else. He supposedly kept records on the darker side of the entertainment world, things he considered exploitation masked as business. If those archives really exist, and if they mention people like Diddy, Jay-Z, or anyone else in that circle, that would explain why certain files are being scrubbed the moment they appear online. Not long after Prince died, Jay-Z dropped his album 444, where he claimed he'd met with Prince face-to-face and knew what he wanted for his music. He basically accused Prince's estate of selling out. But what if that line wasn't just personal? What if it was defensive? Because the more people looked into it, the more the receipts didn't match. Lawyers found inconsistencies between what Jay-Z said and what the paperwork showed. It's like Prince's death opened a door, and Jay-Z's team tried to shut it as fast as possible. Meanwhile, Beyoncé and Jay-Z built this image of perfection, royalty, discipline, unshakable power. Their brand depends on being untouchable. Which is why this whole Prince vault situation is so threatening. If those leaks even hint at blackmail, secret agreements, or industry cover-ups, it hits their empire right at the foundation. That's why, reportedly, their lawyers have been moving quietly behind the scenes, reaching out to people who worked with Prince, buying up old data, and locking everything behind non-disclosure deals. And it's not just them. Everyone connected to Diddy seems to be in cleanup mode. You've probably noticed how fast names appear in filings and then vanish days later. Jay-Z and Beyoncé were even listed in one civil case as potential witnesses at one of Diddy's events, but within a week, their names were gone. Their lawyers said it was all false, that they weren't even there. Maybe that's true, but when the references disappear that quickly, people start asking questions. Why the panic if there's nothing to hide? And if we look at Jay-Z's track record, there's a pattern. The business rivalries, the control issues, the aggression disguised as strategy. Decades ago, he was charged with assaulting a producer in a club dispute. Before fame, he admitted to making money in the streets. Those instincts, risk, power, survival, never left. They just evolved into something more corporate. Buying masters, owning artists' catalogs, controlling distribution. It's the same hustle, just in designer suits. That's why the Prince situation matters so much. Prince represented the opposite: independence, transparency, refusing to be owned. He literally wrote slave on his face to protest label control. Jay-Z built his empire by becoming the label. That collision, one man fighting for freedom, another for monopoly, was bound to explode. And here's what makes it even wilder. Some of the people cataloging Prince's vault after his death later took jobs at major music companies connected to Roc Nation. So if any of those mysterious drives or files went missing, it's not hard to imagine where they might have gone. And if those files are resurfacing now, years later, it means someone held on to copies. Maybe as insurance. Maybe as revenge. Fast forward to today. The internet is crawling with whispers about encrypted drives, emails, and footage linking powerful figures across the same network now being investigated through Diddy's cases. Anonymous accounts post leaked fragments, some vanish within hours, others get DMC strikes almost instantly. When reporters try to trace them, the trail always leads back to people who once worked near Prince's estate. And that's why everyone's watching so closely right now. The Carters have the cleanest image in the business, too clean maybe. When Jay-Z stood on stage at the Grammys calling out the Recording Academy for not giving Beyoncé Artist of the Year, it looked like righteous outrage. But some people saw it differently, like a distraction, a way to remind the public who they are while something much bigger brews underneath. Behind closed doors, media insiders have said producers and journalists are being warned not to talk about the Carters in connection with the Diddy scandal. Clips vanish. Interviews get pulled. One major talk show host had to publicly apologize and delete an episode after a guest made claims linking Jay-Z and Beyoncé to Diddy's parties. The lawyers called it defamation. The episode disappeared overnight. That's not normal cleanup. That's crisis control. The deeper the Diddy investigation goes, the more names pop up, vanish, and reappear. Everyone's trying to stay one step ahead. But here's the thing, if Prince really did have a black box of the industry, if he was collecting evidence about exploitation and hidden deals, those files might be the missing puzzle piece that ties it all together. Not just about Diddy's alleged crimes, but about how power in entertainment actually works. Remember, Prince was paranoid for a reason. He stopped trusting everyone. He bought his own studio, handled his own masters, refused to stream his work anywhere he didn't control. He knew people used art, money, and secrets as weapons. He warned about it for decades. And maybe he was documenting exactly that. Now, if the leaks are real, and that's still a big if, it would mean the Carters aren't just fighting rumors. They're fighting a man who recorded everything. Files that could reveal private business deals, NDAs, or even connections between entertainment empires that nobody was ever meant to see. It would explain the sudden scramble, the quick lawsuits, the silence. And let's be real, in 2025, when Diddy's world is collapsing in real time, this couldn't come at a worse moment for anyone connected to him. The timing is too perfect, too coordinated. If these leaks really trace back to Prince's vault, then this isn't just about music anymore. It's about legacy, control, reputation. Everything billionaires like Jay-Z and Beyoncé have built over 2 decades. So what happens next? Maybe nothing. Maybe it's all smoke. But if even one of those leaked drives is real, it could set off the biggest reckoning the industry has ever seen. Not just for Diddy, not just for the Carters, but for everyone who's built their fortune on keeping secrets buried. Prince once said, "The music industry is filled with thieves and liars." Most people thought he was just being dramatic. But if what's happening now is connected to what he was collecting then, he might have been warning us all along. So the question now isn't whether Prince knew something. The question is, who has his files and what happens when the next leak drops? Let me know what you think. Was Prince really on the verge of exposing something huge? Or is this just another internet myth that got out of hand? Drop your thoughts below, stay curious, and as always, keep your eyes open, because every secret eventually plays its encore.